You know, when a storm is bearing down, or a fire is spreading, or the power just goes out, what's the first thing we do? We turn on the news. But if you ever stop to think, in the middle of all that chaos, how do the news stations themselves stay on the air? Well, it's not by accident, let me tell you. It's by design. So let's get into the incredible planning that makes it all possible.
This explainer is based entirely on the guide 10 Steps to Disaster Preparation and Recovery from the National Association of Broadcasters. Except for this attribution notice, it uses the source document as downloaded in its creation. The PDF is available for public download without registration from the nab.org search bar. And this slide, this really gets to the heart of why all this planning is so critical. There's a reason they're called first informers. When everything else goes dark, your cell service is gone, the internet is down, that radio or TV signal is often the absolute last line of communication. It's literally a lifeline, which makes their ability to stay on the air a matter of public safety. So what does it take? What does it really take to stay on the air when the worst is happening? It's not luck. It's a highly detailed, meticulously crafted playbook that's designed to withstand almost anything. So let's break down the 10 steps that make it all work.
All right, first things first. It all begins with the foundation, creating the master plan. This is the blueprint for survival, and you have to build it long before there are any storm clouds on the horizon.
So, the first 3 steps are all about laying that groundwork. You have to actually write a comprehensive plan, game out every single possible risk you can think of, and get the station's leadership to truly champion the whole effort.
So who actually builds this plan? The short answer is pretty much everyone. And what's fascinating here is that it has to be a total team effort. You need the engineers who know all the technical weak spots, the news directors who are planning for that continuous coverage, the managers thinking about staff safety, and of course the owners who are committed to funding the whole thing.
Step 2 is where they have to think through every possible threat. I mean, if you're a station in Florida, you're obsessed with hurricanes. In California, it's earthquakes and wildfires. But then you've got the threats that can hit anyone, anywhere. Massive power outages, critical equipment failures, or even targeted cyber attacks. You have to be ready for all of it.
And I love this part. It's such a brilliant insight. Management can't wait for a crisis to happen before they introduce themselves to the fire chief or the mayor. They have to build those relationships on sunny days. So when they need access or critical information during an emergency, that trust is already there. It's proactive and it's smart.
Okay, so the foundation is set. Now we move into the next phase. Planning for every single what-if scenario you can possibly imagine. This is where the plan really gets stress-tested against chaos.
Steps 4, 5, and 6 are all about redundancy and practical prevention. You have to expect the unexpected, you have to ensure that broadcast signal never ever dies, and you have to make some simple fixes that can have a surprisingly huge impact.
To do this, engineers basically become detectives, hunting for any single point of failure. Think about it. If your entire operation relies on one single tower, what happens if it falls? Boom, you're off the air. So you need a backup tower, a backup generator, a backup studio link. You need a backup for literally everything.
And this leads to a whole series of brutal but necessary questions they have to answer. First up, the building's compromised, you have to evacuate. Now what? Is there a plan B? Can you get a signal out from a remote truck or maybe a sister station?
Then, what if the lines of communication are just cut? No internet, no phones. This is where things like satellite phones become absolutely essential, not just for filing reports from the field, but for the staff to even coordinate with each other.
And finally, maybe the most fundamental question of all, power. A backup generator is great, but it's totally useless if you don't have a contract for emergency fuel deliveries to keep it running for days or maybe even weeks. An engine without fuel is just a very heavy sculpture. So ensuring continuity involves both these big, ambitious plans like arranging to simulcast on another station and also some surprisingly simple fixes. I mean, just bolting equipment racks to the floor can prevent catastrophic damage in an earthquake. Storing backup data off-site means the business can survive even if the building doesn't. It's brilliant in its practicality. Now, all this technology and all this planning, it's worthless without the people to run it. So this next phase focuses on the most important asset any station has, its team. Step 7 is all about keeping the staff safe, because you're asking them to run toward the disaster, not away from it. And Step 8 is making sure everyone knows exactly what to do by training them and testing that plan relentlessly. I mean, if your staff has to shelter in place to keep the station on the air, the station itself has to become a shelter. This means being stocked with everything from food and water to first aid kits and sanitation supplies. They have to be completely self-sufficient. And here's an idea that is just fantastic: cross-training. The plan has to assume key people just won't be able to get to the station. So what do? Well, the person from the sales department might be trained to run the on-air controls. An anchor might learn simple technical repairs. It is a true all-hands-on-deck philosophy.
Okay, finally, the plan has to evolve and live in the modern world, right? This last section brings us right into the 21st century, addressing digital threats and the financial realities of what it takes to recover. The final 2 steps are all about digital defense and financial resilience. Today, stations have to prepare for sophisticated cyber attacks just as much as they do for floods, and they absolutely need the right insurance to rebuild when the disaster is finally over. This means basic cybersecurity hygiene. We're talking firewalls, strong passwords, multi-factor authentication is just as important as reinforcing the windows. And the insurance is incredibly complex. You need specialized coverage for those broadcast towers, for transmitters, and even for the business income you lose while you're off the air.
And there you have it, 10 steps. But it's not a one-and-done checklist. It's a continuous, evolving cycle of planning, testing, and adapting. It's this enormous amount of work that happens entirely behind the scenes, all to make sure that when you need information the most, that signal is there for you.
It just shows that when the worst happens, we don't rely on hope, we rely on a plan. And it really makes you wonder what other unseen systems are quietly working in the background every single day to protect and inform our daily lives.